Chapter 1366. Duke Long Awakens. Heavenly Court had its concerns, but what these concerns were, Star Constellation Heavens did not state clearly. After saying everything, Star Constellation Heavens vanished into thin air. Oz Wei, don't look at me. Even though I have lived longer, I do not know as many secrets as you think I do. I'll tell you the truth. This is only the second time I've seen Star Constellation Heavens appear on its own. Duke Long sighed deeply. After pausing for a while, he continued, "We need to believe in Star Constellation Heaven's will and do as she says. We will definitely win this time. This is our fate." Duke Long's unwavering determination rubbed off on Fairies EWEI in Heavenly Court's actions later. It went according to Star Constellation Heaven's will's instructions. Duke Long and the rest did not defy her. While Heaven Overseeing Tower moved in White Heaven, it was obstructed by Purple Mountain True Monarch's methods. It was carrying Duke Long, Fairies Wei, and other Gu immortals of the 10 great ancient sects, joining in this crucial battle. Fang Yuan's analysis was correct. Even though he did not understand why Heavenly Court refused to send more Gu immortals, this did not stop him from seeing through this detail. Precisely so, Fang Yuan made the decision to use the Super Gu formation to help Ing Wuxie and affect the battle between Duke Long and Purple Mountain True Monarch. Using Treasure Yellow Heaven, Fang Yuan successfully obtained an information path Gu worm from Ing Wuxie. This information path Gu worm allowed him to talk directly to Purple Mountain True Monarch. Fang Yuan helped Ing Wuxie so as to gain Shadow Sect's initial trust. Otherwise, how could he get this Gu worm? This Gu worm and Purple Mountain True Monarch had a close relationship. With it, he would have a crucial clue and would be able to deduce matters on Purple Mountain True Monarch. Thus, these Gu worms were usually kept very closely to oneself. Only in this situation would Purple Mountain True Monarch give this information path Gu worm to Fang Yuan. During normal times, they would definitely need to set an information path alliance agreement. After getting the information path Gu worm, Purple Mountain True Monarch contacted Fang Yuan and said, "Fang Yuan, I need to thank you. Purple Mountain True Monarch is a great title. Thanks for bestowing it. I like it." Fang Yuan did not expect that the lie he used to deceive Tai by Yun Sheng would become reality one day. Purple Mountain True Monarch had well-honed interpersonal skills. Once he said that, the relationship between him and Fang Yuan became much closer. Fang Yuan laughed. "Then I'll call you Purple Mountain True Monarch. You have already felt my sincerity. We are working together. I am not the only one putting in effort. Now, it is time for your side of the deal." Purple Mountain True Monarch attacked Duke Long fiercely while answering. "Okay, what do you want?" He knew what strength Fang Yuan had, but in this crucial moment, he did not hesitate at all. Fang Yuan answered, "Heavenly crystals. I want a large amount of heavenly crystals." Heavenly crystals were too hard to obtain. Even though they were sold in Treasure Yellow Heaven, they were rare and in small quantities. Fang Yuan's needs were not satisfied, but Shadow Sect had them. Fang Yuan did not doubt that. Even though Shadow Sect was greatly damaged and lost a lot, it did not lack resources. Fang Yuan could see this during his pursuit of Ing Wuxie and Gang. As expected, Purple Mountain True Monarch answered, "Okay, I have a lot of heavenly crystals. They can be given to you to express my sincerity. You want heavenly crystals to nurture the upper extreme heavenly eagle? This is a sound idea. Reverse flow protection seal cannot be used recklessly. But even if you turn the upper extreme heavenly eagle into a true immemorial desolate beast, you might not be able to control it. I know about your enslavement path method. But don't worry, I have a method for you to control the upper extreme heavenly eagle." Purple Mountain True Monarch's words made Fang Yuan overjoyed and also incredibly amazed. Purple Mountain True Monarch was very generous. He gave up the heavenly crystals to gain Fang Yuan's support without hesitation. He was already in a passive state. Thus, when he said his later words, "the method to control upper extreme heavenly eagle," he lured Fang Yuan. This was turning his position from passive to active, as expected of a rank 8 wisdom path Gu immortal. His words were filled with wisdom. Fang Yuan felt the aura of an intense opponent. Fang Yuan was silent before saying, "Adding in another method to control the upper extreme heavenly eagle is fine. But now, I have something more important to do." He said that as if he had some way to control the upper extreme heavenly eagle himself. This way, Purple Mountain True Monarch's bargaining chip was not as significant. Purple Mountain True Monarch smiled. What is more important? That is, both of us need to enter a ceasefire now. Feng Yuan said. Shadow Sect would benefit from this matter. It was good for Feng Yuan too. Only Heavenly Court would not stand to gain from it. Immediately, Purple Mountain True Monarch gave his orders, recalling the Gu Immortals of Shadow Sect. Feng Yuan also sent orders, even though the southern border Gu Immortals did not understand it. Due to Wu Yihai's identity and his control of the Gu formation, they listened to him. Both sides began to separate. Shadow Sect had many losses. Only Ing Wu Xie, Bai Ning Bing, He Lu Lan, Fairy Miao Yin, and so on were left. Over at southern border, even though there were losses, they were not significant. Their numbers were not lacking. However, Shadow Sect's pure dream reality seeker physique bodies were still breaking out of the cocoons. The numbers were increasing as the dream realm continued to weaken and vanish. This situation was the worst for Heavenly Court. The difference in strength between both sides is shrinking. Now, what will Heavenly Court do? Feng Yuan was vigilant against Heavenly Court's actions. Duke Long was still sleeping, while Fairy Ziwei was increasing her speed of taking over the Super Gu formation. Heaven Overseeing Tower was still entangled with Zui Yihui. Boom! Zui Yihui raised its left claw and jumped up, slamming Heaven Overseeing Tower to the ground. Heaven Overseeing Tower flickered with white light, being undamaged. Zui Yihui opened its mouth and let out Grey Knight. Heaven Overseeing Tower used Fate Vanquish again. Two killer moves faced off. Grey Knight vanished in the white light as Zui Yihui was pushed away with broken bones and tendons. But almost instantly, it used an immortal killer move, and its injuries vanished. Regaining its peak condition, Zui Yihui growled again and attacked Heaven Overseeing Tower with fury and hatred. There was a sigh in Heaven Overseeing Tower before it flew into the sky. Zui Yihui had its flying killer move too. It flew into the sky and chased after Heaven Overseeing Tower. The Central Continent Gu Immortals in the tower had nervous and anxious expressions. Damn it! This immemorial desolate beast is too sturdy. It is able to use killer moves. Heaven Overseeing Tower cannot deal with it in a short time. What do we do? Lord Duke Long was targeted and fell into a dream realm, being attacked by the rank 8 demon. We need to go. We need to send reinforcements to Lord Duke Long. If this goes on, it will not be good. But Lord Duke Long instructed before leaving that we need to stay inside Heaven Overseeing Tower. We cannot move rashly. Times are different now. There are rank 8 Gu Immortals among us. Now that Lord Duke Long is in danger, he has lost control of the battle. If we do not help him, Lord Duke Long will be in danger. After a short discussion, Heaven Overseeing Tower attacked, temporarily pushing Zui Yihui back, and creating a chance point. 2 Central Continent Gu Immortals took the chance to fly out of Heaven Overseeing Tower and move towards Duke Long. Haha. 2 rats came out. Zui Yihui laughed, a sinister light shining in its bestial eyes. That it opened its bloodthirsty mouth. The 2 Central Continent Gu Immortals' bodies shook. As if they had encountered a predator, they felt in incredible danger and could not control themselves. Crack? Zui Yihui shut its mouth. Even though it was far from these 2 Central Continent Gu Immortals, when its teeth connected, it was as if it had bitten these 2 Central Continent Gu Immortals. Blood flowed out of its mouth at the same time. The 2 Central Continent Gu Immortals were spurting out blood. They were covered in terrifying wounds. Their organs were punctured. Their entire bodies looked completely deformed. This is a food path killer move. It is hard to defend against. Zui Yihui has human intelligence. It knows how to use the tactic of targeting an enemy's weakness. Quick, bring the 2 back. Heaven Overseeing Tower quickly tried to save them. And because the 2 Central Continent rank 8s had methods to help themselves, they narrowly escaped death and were not eaten by Zui Yihui. After escaping that danger, the Central Continent Gu Immortals realized the terrifying power of Zui Yihui. Indeed worthy of a legendary immemorial desolate beast, the beast that reckless savage left behind. But this way, how can we save Lord Duke Long? Bring Heaven Overseeing Tower in. It is too dangerous. If we are sent into a dream realm, we will lose Heaven Overseeing Tower. Can any of us bear that responsibility? While Central Continent's Gu immortals were discussing, Duke Long was in the greatest danger he had ever been in. Purple Mountain True Monarch's methods were finally working. He broke through Duke Long's defenses. Break. Purple Mountain True Monarch flew to Duke Long and spat out some purple gas. This mystical breath landed on Duke Long and dissolved all of his defenses. Immortal killer move. Brilliant. Will dissolution. Die. Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes shined with bright purple light. He used his killer move on Duke Long, but at this moment, Duke Long opened his eyes. Boom! There was a thunderous explosion. Purple Mountain True Monarch flew out from the dust and smoke as Duke Long stood on the spot. He had woken up. How could he escape so quickly? Ing Wuxia was greatly shocked. He quickly used Lead's soul into dream. Purple Mountain True Monarch had a bad feeling. Duke Long had woken up at a very coincidental time. He wanted to stop Ing Wuxia, but it was too late. Duke Long vanished instantly, and Ing Wuxia received the backlash of the killer move. He had fallen into the dream himself. This move seems to be called Lead Soul into Dream. It is a good move. If I had more time, I would be able to decipher its profundity. Duke Long spoke. The vigilant appearance of Purple Mountain True Monarch was reflected in his cold dragon eyes. Duke Long continued speaking. As for you, if your methods are only at this level, you will not be able to handle my next move. Because this was created by primordial origin immortal venerable. Duke Long cultivated Chi path primarily and transformation path secondarily. At this moment, he was finally going to use his true methods. Chapter 1367, Triple Chi Retraction. After Duke Long said that, his aura changed abruptly. He had just forced Purple Mountain True Monarch back and caused Ing Wuxia's Lead Soul into Dream to be ineffective. His aura was overwhelming. He was like a giant dragon soaring into the sky, but now it was decreasing. Decrease was not an appropriate word. It was condensing and solidifying. His overwhelming aura earlier was condensing now. In a few breaths' time, Duke Long's shocking aura was completely concealed. He was like a deep abyss, unfathomable and mysterious. Purple Mountain True Monarch acted like he was facing a strong foe. He could sense that Duke Long in this condition was much more dangerous than Duke Long, with overwhelming aura. Roar. Duke Long opened his mouth and roared. Next, he vanished entirely on the spot. Oh no. Purple Mountain True Monarch's heart sank. Duke Long was doing the same thing again. That he had once used this method to teleport to Purple Mountain True Monarch and use Chaotic Dragon Fist, suppressing Purple Mountain True Monarch. Ordinary Gu immortals would not be able to react even if they knew about Duke Long's intention. But Purple Mountain True Monarch was different. He cultivated Wisdom Path. He could think rapidly. Almost at the same time as Duke Long roared, Purple Mountain True Monarch finished thinking and reacted in their earlier combat. Purple Mountain True Monarch had seen through the secret of Duke Long's teleportation. At this moment, he used the same method again, eradicating the sound of the dragon's roar around him. Indeed, at the next moment, Duke Long stopped moving. He reappeared in front of Purple Mountain True Monarch. But this time, he did not succeed in getting close. He was still several hundred steps away from Purple Mountain True Monarch. But to Duke Long, this was enough distance. Human Chi Retraction. He shouted, waving at Purple Mountain True Monarch. His movement was very ordinary, like a friend waving to another friend. But Purple Mountain True Monarch suffered a huge blow. A huge amount of human chi gushed out of his body and flew towards Duke Long uncontrollably, in the blink of an eye. It entered Duke Long's palm and vanished. After losing such a huge amount of human chi, Purple Mountain True Monarch's eye socket sank in. His expression turned pale, and his bright purple hair became dull. He felt an intense feeling of weakness in his head and throughout his entire body. Deep within Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes, a mysterious light of shock could be seen. When he heard Duke Long shout, he thought of a famous Chi Path killer move, Triple Chi Retraction. This killer move was created by primordial origin immortal venerable. It had two very well-known traits. The first was that it was very difficult to learn. This killer move was incredibly complex and used a lot of Gu worms. They were used interchangeably with countless steps. Even Wisdom Path Gu immortals would have a headache in attempting it. The second was that the risks were huge, because this killer move was very complex. When Gu Immortals used it and made a mistake, the huge backlash would be inflicted on them if the killer move succeeded and could not hit the enemy. This killer move would return and harm the user. Triple Chi Retraction had incredibly terrifying power. The explanation started at the process of Immortal Ascension. When humans underwent Immortal Ascension, there were 3 Chi involved: Heaven Chi, Earth Chi, and Human Chi. When Gu Masters cultivate from rank 1 to rank 5, they would accumulate Human Chi in this process. When they undergo Ascension, they would take in Heaven and Earth Chi. The 3 Chi would become 1, and the Gu Master would concentrate in controlling them, tossing their vital Gu in and creating the immortal aperture through an explosion. The more Human Chi the Gu Master had, the more Heaven and Earth Chi they would be able to fuse, and the higher the grade of the immortal aperture they would get. Normally speaking, the 10 extreme physiques meant incredibly abundant Human Chi, far beyond normal people. Or perhaps a Gu Master could make accumulations by themselves, regardless of what path. As long as one had Grandmaster attainment level, their Human Chi would be very abundant. After creating the immortal aperture, be it cultivation or managing the immortal aperture, Gu Immortals had to keep a balance between the 3 Chi: Heaven Chi, Earth Chi, Human Chi. Not one of the 3 could be lacking and break the balance. Like Feng Yuan, after getting a secluded domain of Heaven and Earth like Reverse Flow River, the Heaven and Earth Chi expenditure of the sovereign immortal aperture became extremely high. Thus, he had to place his immortal aperture often to take in Heaven and Earth Chi of the outside world, to replenish himself and maintain balance. Regarding the 3 Chi, no matter which Gu Immortal or Venerable, they could not be careless about it. In the world of the 5 regions, Heaven and Earth Chi varied. If Gu Immortals who were not native took in foreign Heaven and Earth Chi, their immortal apertures would suffer great losses. Even though they could do that in an emergency situation, it could not happen a lot of times. When Gu Immortals die, blessed lands would form. For example, in Luo Pa Valley, many Central Continent Gu Immortals died in the battlefield. Their immortal apertures became blessed lands in northern plains, but because they took in Heaven and Earth Chi of another region, the foundation and resources inside the blessed lands were greatly damaged. All of these explanations served to prove a point. Heaven, Earth, and Human Chi. They were incredibly important to the immortal aperture and Gu Immortals. Any imbalance would cause great damage to the immortal aperture, and this immortal killer move, Triple Chi Retraction, targeted this point. It directly attacked the foundation of the immortal aperture. It was the combination of a consecutive move and variation move. Thus, the Gu Immortal who used this killer move had to be extremely skilled. Triple Chi Retraction had 3 styles. The first style, Human Chi Retraction. After the target was hit, they would lose a lot of Human Chi, their foundation would fall. Of course, if the target had no Human Chi, like a desolate beast, this move would have no effect. The second style, Earth Chi Retraction. If hit, the Gu Immortal's immortal aperture would be drained of Earth Chi. With a severe loss of Earth Chi, the 3 Chi would completely be out of balance. The immortal aperture would be in grave danger. The third style, Heaven Chi Retraction. This would extract Heaven Chi. If a person was hit by all 3 moves, their immortal aperture would break apart instantly. Purple Mountain True Monarch retreated. He was already hit by Human Chi Retraction. If he was hit by Earth Chi Retraction too, the disadvantage would be too severe. Even though Purple Mountain True Monarch knew about this move, this was his first time seeing it. He could not see through it in this short period. This move was too complex. The more complex a move was, even though it was more difficult to use in battle, it was also harder for opponents to unravel. After all, everything had advantages and disadvantages. Purple Mountain True Monarch could not resolve it. He could only use his methods as he created countless clones. Once, hundreds of Purple Mountain True Monarchs flew out randomly at the same time. His main body vanished. Triple Chi Retraction was powerful, but if it could not hit, it was useless. However, Duke Long was unmoved. He was completely prepared for Purple Mountain True Monarch's response. Next, he laughed coldly as his voice spread throughout the battlefield, even though he was not loud. It is too late. Purple Mountain True Monarch, you were hit by Human Chi Retraction. There is no way for you to dodge the next 2 styles. You can only endure it. Come, Earth Chi Retraction. Duke Long paused before waving again that he was not trying to deceive him. Duke Long's waving motion was not in the right direction, and he did not make any investigations. He had no idea where Purple Mountain True Monarch was now, but he was still hit instantly. Purple Mountain True Monarch was greatly shocked. A vast amount of earth chi flew out of his immortal aperture, raging on like a storm towards Duke Long's palm, before vanishing without a trace. Purple Mountain True Monarch's immortal aperture was greatly damaged. His foundations were crippled and his 3 chi had lost balance long ago. His immortal aperture was going to break apart in a few breaths' time. At this moment, one final choice was presented to Purple Mountain True Monarch, placing his aperture here. This way, he could take in heaven and earth chi to regain balance. But Purple Mountain True Monarch gave up on this option immediately. This was a horrible idea. Once Purple Mountain True Monarch placed his aperture, his main body would be stuck in his immortal aperture. He would leave the battlefield immediately and lose all initiative. And most importantly, the immortal aperture could only take in heaven and earth chi by opening the entrance that a passage was necessary. And outside, Duke Long was waiting for him. If this immortal aperture's entrance opened, Duke Long would charge in and easily deal great damage to the immortal aperture. Furthermore, he could fight or retreat at will, while Purple Mountain True Monarch would be trapped inside his immortal aperture. Even if I place my aperture and replenish my earth chi, the balance was long since lost due to my lack of human chi. I do not have the human path methods needed to replenish human chi. I can only buy large numbers of humans or variant humans. Countless thoughts flashed inside Purple Mountain True Monarch's mind. In a short time, he made his choice. He stretched out his arm and grabbed at his stomach, before an eerie purple light shined in his hand, as his hand pulled away from his stomach slowly. With his movement, the immortal aperture was taken out. Seeing this, Feng Yuan felt a familiar feeling in his mind. He thought of Blazing Heaven Demonis. Blazing Heaven Demonis had a fire path method that could take someone else's immortal aperture. This move left a deep impression on Feng Yuan. How does Purple Mountain True Monarch know this? Feng Yuan was a little puzzled, but he soon understood. Blazing Heaven Demonis was a member of Zombie Alliance to begin with, and He Lulan was firmly controlled by Shadow Sect. It was not strange for Purple Mountain True Monarch to know this method. All the paths in the world, with a deep enough attainment, could mimic other paths and achieve their effects. Purple Mountain True Monarch's move was evidently a wisdom path method. It could also be that he created it himself, and it had nothing to do with Blazing Heaven Demonis. Purple Mountain True Monarch took out his immortal aperture and placed it in the outside world. The immortal aperture's entrance opened and began to take in earth chi. But this grotto heaven had little hope of salvation. Even if the earth chi was regained, human chi was too lacking. Seeing Purple Mountain True Monarch's resolution, Duke Long was slightly shocked. A look of admiration flashed on his face for a moment. Chapter 1368, Capturing Spectral Soul. Purple Mountain True Monarch lost his immortal aperture. He lost his cultivation foundation. Without his immortal aperture, his future was bleak. Forget about the future. Even now, after his immortal aperture left his body, he lost a huge amount of Dao marks, even though he kept most of the goo worms and immortal essence with him. Without the amplification of Dao marks, his battle strength fell to rock bottom. This was something he had no other way to deal with if his heaven chi was extracted. Purple Mountain True Monarch's immortal aperture would break apart. The winds of assimilation will blow, and he would be in even greater danger of losing his life. Triple chi retraction was simply too incredible. It directly targeted the goo immortal's foundation. Even the great Purple Mountain True Monarch had to discard his own immortal aperture. It was like an iron palm, one martial arts expert breaking his own 2 arms. Feng Yuan watched this, filled with shock. Throughout history, there were only 10 who became venerables. Anything related to these 10 existences could become extraordinary. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's formless hand was like this, so was Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's reincarnation battlefield, and so was Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable's triple chi retraction. What can we do? Feng Yuan thought hard on how to change the situation. There was nothing he could do. He could only feel glad now. Glad that Purple Mountain True Monarch had already given him all the heavenly crystals earlier. While manipulating the Super Goo formation and resisting Fairy Z-Wei, he started to nurture the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle. He had a lot of heavenly crystals now, far more than the Heavenly Crystal Eagle nest earlier. Even if the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle became an immemorial desolate beast, the same thing would not happen again. It would not starve to death. Indeed worthy of Duke Long. Purple Mountain True Monarch spoke, expressing his admiration towards Duke Long. Duke Long was too powerful. He definitely had quasi-rank 9 battle strength. Against ordinary rank 8 Goo Immortals, he could crush them. Only people like Purple Mountain True Monarch, at the peak of rank 8, and being one of the original split souls of Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, having cultivated for 100,000 years, had the foundation and qualifications to challenge him. But after dozens of rounds, after Duke Long's probing ended, he realized that Purple Mountain True Monarch had no true way of countering him. So he started to use his Chi Path trump card. Triple Chi Retraction was incredibly powerful, but such a strong killer move would leave the user in horrible condition if it was countered. It was like lifting a rock and smashing it on one's own head. Thus, any Goo Immortal would be very careful with such a killer move. Like how Fong Yuan would rather nurture the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle than use Reverse Flow Protection Seal. In this battle, I am bullying a junior. If you were not someone who is defying fate, we might be able to sit down and have a nice conversation. After all, in this world, there are too few people who can register my interest. However, I believe that in the near future, the entire world will brighten up, it will become incredibly exciting. And I will be the person to unveil this great new era. Duke Long sighed, starting to chase after Purple Mountain True Monarch. Purple Mountain True Monarch fought and retreated. He was completely suppressed. He was hit by the first 2 styles of Triple Chi Retraction. His battle strength fell drastically. He was not Duke Long's match originally. The situation was worse now. Duke Long's attacks were powerful and unceasing at this moment. He surpassed Purple Mountain True Monarch in every aspect. Purple Mountain True Monarch could only hold on desperately while trying to use the killer move to create pure dream reality seeker physique bodies. But he had no choice other than to stop it. Ying Wuxia was still stuck in a dream realm. The other Goo Immortals only watched helplessly. Fong Yuan gritted his teeth. Having a heavy heart, he quickly looked around the battlefield. Duke Long had a great advantage. Purple Mountain True Monarch was a lost cause. The only way now was to target the enemy's weakness to salvage the situation. However, Duke Long had predicted this when he sent his forces. All of the people he sent out were powerful beings. Ignoring Duke Long, Fairy Z-Wei had Star Constellation chessboard, while Heaven Overseeing Tower was tough as a fortress. Even though Zui Yi Hui was attacking, it could only damage the exterior. There were many southern border Righteous Path Goo Immortals, but they could not interfere in a battle of such intensity. Oh no. This cannot go on. Once Purple Mountain True Monarch loses, the entire battle will tilt in Heavenly Court's favor. By then, there will be too little hope for me to escape. Should I retreat now? Should I take a gamble on whether Heavenly Court has already found a way to counter Reverse Flow Protection Seal? Fong Yuan could not help but hesitate. This was something hard to decide on. But at this time, the battle between Purple Mountain True Monarch and Duke Long had a new development. A Blessed Land's entrance suddenly opened, as a huge soul beast army appeared from within. Purple Mountain True Monarch relied on these soul beasts to block Duke Long's attacks as he retreated into the Blessed Land. This is Shadow Sect's Blessed Land. Fong Yuan saw this as his eyes shined brightly, flashing with dazzling light. During the Battle of Etion Mountain, Shadow Sect's Blessed Land was moved here by Shadow Sect. Shadow Sect's Blessed Land contained the door of life and death. Spectral Soul had emerged from it to resist the heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities, unleashing his great power and killing Heavenly Court's Goo Immortals. Heaven Overseeing Tower was destroyed, and Sovereign Immortal Fetus Goo was refined. After the Battle of Etion Mountain, Shadow Sect met with failure as Fong Yuan snatched the fruits of their labor. The Dream Realm covered the entire place, and Shadow Sect's Blessed Land had to shut its entrance, defending from the outside. Purple Mountain True Monarch led Shadow Sect here, and had been using his killer move to turn Dream Realms into pure dream reality seeker physique bodies. After trying hard, unknowingly, the Blessed Land was freed. as the surrounding dream realms were removed. Thus, the entrance of Shadow Sect's blessed land could open again. There were countless soul beasts inside the door of life and death. They were all mobilized now to attack Duke Long. These soul beasts were of a massive scale. There were countless desolate beasts, with many ancient desolate beasts, and even immemorial desolate beasts among them. The soul beast army disregarded sacrifices, attacking Duke Long in a suicidal manner. Purple Mountain True Monarch passed through the Immortal Aperture's entrance with the help of the soul beasts, entering Shadow Sect's blessed land. The appearance of the soul beast army did not turn the situation around. It only gave Purple Mountain True Monarch some time to regain his footing. Feng Yuan, let out your upper extreme heavenly eagle. What are you waiting for? At the same time, Purple Mountain True Monarch continued to ask Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan snickered. This was already the 50th time he had asked. Ever since he was hit by the Chi Path killer move, he had been urging Feng Yuan to no avail. The upper extreme heavenly eagle was his final trump card. Even if it was uncontrollable, he could let it out to cause chaos. How could he release it according to Purple Mountain True Monarch's words? Charge in. This blessed land is Shadow Sect's base camp. Feng Yuan thought. He wanted to see Duke Long enter the blessed land and fight to the death with Shadow Sect. He wanted Shadow Sect's blessed land to be full of traps, so that Duke Long could meet with trouble. But Duke Long did not pursue him. He stopped his movement. Feng Yuan was disappointed, while Purple Mountain True Monarch was slightly flustered. Duke Long's lips curled upwards. For the first time, he showed a natural smile that he suddenly turned around, charging somewhere with the speed of lightning. You finally decided to come out? Spectral Soul, he shouted, attacking as air currents raged, turning into a huge claw that grabbed at an area in the Soul Beast army. He found out. Purple Mountain True Monarch felt like he had fallen into an icy river. From the Soul Beast army, a human-shaped soul emerged. He did not evade Duke Long. He attacked. Boom. Even the powerful Duke Long was sent flying, while that human-shaped soul remained unmoved. Haha. Duke Long spat out blood, but he laughed. Spectral Soul, you are truly at your weakest. Damn it. Purple Mountain True Monarch quickly charged ahead, trying to reinforce him. Panic showed on his face for the first time. Feng Yuan saw this and finally understood everything. Shadow Sect is truly cunning. Purple Mountain True Monarch created a huge amount of pure dream reality seeker physique bodies, seemingly wanting to let Spectral Soul escape. But this was all a distraction. His true intention was to let out the Soul Beast army for Spectral Soul to devour and strengthen himself. Spectral Soul had the supreme method of devouring souls. That was the only way he could recover his strength rapidly. He might even be able to help Purple Mountain True Monarch defeat Duke Long. But all this was predicted by Duke Long in advance. Duke Long attacked, while Spectral Soul was still weak. Purple Mountain True Monarch had to intervene. Too late. Duke Long laughed, stretching his arms as his dragon claws tore through space, forcing Purple Mountain True Monarch to retreat. Duke Long attacked Spectral Soul again. Air currents raged like dragons, entangling with Spectral Soul's main body. Spectral Soul's main body was originally very powerful. It was considered a quasi-rank 9 immemorial soul beast. It could even use goo worms and the immortal essence he had left behind in his lifetime. But after the battle of Etion Mountain, Spectral Soul only had a trace of his remnant soul left. And this trace of his remnant soul was surrounded by dream realms, constantly consumed. The human-shaped soul roared, forcefully defending against Duke Long's methods. Duke Long's dragon eyes shined with intense fighting spirit. You want to resist me? Oh, Spectral Soul, if you were still a rank 9, I would avoid you at all costs. I would escape to the ends of the world. But now, you are just a remnant soul. Your goo worms and immortal essence are not with you. I have been waiting for you for a long time. I'll tell you the truth. I am here to capture and imprison you within Heavenly Court, so that the entire world will understand the supreme might and glory of my Heavenly Court. The human-shaped soul was still struggling, while Purple Mountain True Monarch attacked Duke Long like he had gone mad. Duke Long defended against the latter easily. While he looked at the human-shaped soul, he said arrogantly, "Still going to struggle pointlessly? In the past, even Red Lotus Demon Venerable was stopped by me. Now, surrender to me." As he said that, Spectral Soul's main body was unable to defend against Duke Long's methods. He was trapped by a cage created from countless air currents. Like what Duke Long had said, he actually managed to capture Spectral Soul's main soul body. Chapter 1369, Elder Brother, quickly lend me immortal goo. Seeing this, Fang Yuan could not help but stare with wide eyes at a rank 9 venerable, with overwhelming prestige that flowed into every goo master's and goo immortal's heart, like a river of fame. But now, Fang Yuan saw that Spectral Soul was actually captured by a rank 8 goo immortal. As a matter of fact, who is this Duke Long? He is actually so strong. However, thinking about it, Spectral Soul had died long ago. This is only his soul remaining. If his soul was in top condition, Duke Long would not be able to take him down. But unfortunately, Spectral Soul had resisted the tribulations and made great sacrifices to refine sovereign immortal fetus goo. Even though he succeeded and forced back Heaven Overseeing Tower, the result of his hard work was taken by me. Shadow Sect only had some remnant forces remaining while Zombie Alliance was wiped out. Their losses were severe, and his own soul was depleted until only a trace was left in Etion Mountain. After falling into the dream realm and being weakened for so long, it is already unthinkable that he could last this long. Fang Yuan thought about himself. If his soul was thrown into such a massive dream realm, weakened and depleted by it, without using any dream path killer moves, he would only be able to last for a few days. Even though Spectral Soul only had a trace of his soul left, the quality was superb. He could endure such a long period of time. Even now, he could still struggle. It was not strange that Duke Long could capture him. After all, Duke Long was strong while Spectral Soul was currently weak. Spectral Soul's era was over. He had once slaughtered the world, and his demonic might spread over the 5 regions and 2 heavens. It was a chaotic time period. In his life, he was invincible in the world. He was the strongest being alive, and had the greatest status in heaven and earth. However, time flowed like water. He eventually died. After death, and with the appearance of Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's influence was greatly reduced. Peace and blessings were brought to this world. Even after Spectral Soul died, he was not resigned to failure. He built Shadow Sect and Zombie Alliance, attempting to defy heaven again. Sword Immortal Bo Ching was his first attempt, but he only managed to become a pseudo-immortal venerable, and his corpse sank into falling heavenly river. Sovereign Immortal Fetus Goo was his second attempt, but the world schemed against him. His hard work of 100,000 years was taken away by Fang Yuan. The failure of Etion Mountain and Spectral Soul's terrible loss had consumed all of his foundation. But with just Shadow Sect's remnant forces, he still whipped up a storm. Until now, Spectral Soul failed completely and was captured by Heavenly Court's Duke Long. The great era is coming. Antiques like myself should quietly lie down and stop trying to become the main characters of the current era. Oh, Spectral Soul, your era is long gone. Duke Long sighed as he stretched out his hand. Air currents moved and carried Spectral Soul as it entered his phantom aperture. Ah! Purple Mountain True Monarch screamed at the sky. His eyes were bloodshot. Seeing how Spectral Soul had fallen into captivity, he almost went crazy. Even the main body was captured. All hope was lost. A complete loss. But Purple Mountain True Monarch was a wisdom path Goo immortal after all. He held in the urge to seek out Duke Long for his suicidal attack. That would truly be giving up. He breathed in deeply and moved towards a deeper part of Shadow Sect's blessed land. Running? Why do you think you're going? Duke Long floated in the air. His dragon eyes looked towards Purple Mountain True Monarch with a cold gaze. The entrance of Shadow Sect's blessed land closed, and the Soul Beast army stopped charging out. They returned to defend it. Duke Long laughed arrogantly. He turned around to look at the Super Goo formation and saw that Fairy Z Wei was making good progress. He aimed at the location of Shadow Sect's blessed land and used an immortal killer move. Dragon Gate. This Dragon Gate was majestic and huge. There were 2 red pillars by the side with a dragon coiling around each of them. Their dragon claws were holding up the top of the gate, firm as a mountain. There were flickering dragon scales and 2 tough dragon bodies. The dragon bodies coiled around the huge pillars. As the dragon's upper bodies looked at each other, the dragon mouths were open with a dragon pearl in each of them. shining like radiant suns, forming a scene of 2 dragons and 2 pearls. The dragon gate opened. The interior of Shadow Sect's blessed land could be seen. This immortal killer move, Dragon Gate, could forcefully open blessed lands. Duke Long laughed, stepping in as the Dragon Gate closed. Before vanishing, there was an intense battle in the blessed land, but there was no commotion outside. The entire battlefield fell into a peculiar silence. But it could be easily imagined that Shadow Sect's blessed land was definitely not peaceful. With Duke Long inside, the Soul Beast army was definitely attacking him endlessly. What do we do? Southern Border's righteous path Gu immortals looked at each other. Suddenly, they realized that they had no enemies left. Purple Mountain True Monarch against Duke Long. They were inside Shadow Sect's blessed land. Bai Ning Bing, He Lu Lan, Ing Wu Xie, and the rest were hiding inside the dream realms with the pure dream reality seeker physique bodies. The only things moving in the battlefield were soul beasts. Countless soul beasts were rampaging the battlefield that a portion of them were inside dream realms. Unable to escape, they were quickly dissolved by the dream realms. Most of the soul beasts saw the dangers of the dream realms and escaped due to their survival instincts. Soul beasts could hunt for all life forms with souls and devour them to strengthen themselves. Southern Border's righteous path Gu immortals quickly became the targets of these soul beasts, even though they did not want to fight. Wu Yi, quickly send us into the Gu formation. The Southern Border righteous path Gu immortals quickly requested. They did not want to leave, because now Shadow Sect lost. Heavenly Court was likely to win. And Heavenly Court had not shown any killing intent towards Southern Border's righteous path. Southern Border's righteous path Gu immortals subconsciously thought that Heavenly Court was on their side. After all, they were all in the righteous path. One was Central Continent's righteous path, and the other was Southern Border's righteous path. Of course, there was also another important element that affected their judgment, the dream realm. This dream realm might be extremely scattered now, but from the perspectives of Southern Border's Gu immortals, it was their resource, it belonged to them. Furthermore, they had witnessed the battle between Duke Long and Purple Mountain True Monarch, as well as Spectral Soul's main body. They finally experienced some of the hidden details of the Battle of Etion Mountain. The huge secret of a rank 9 Venerable was here. There might be a fortuitous encounter. Who would want to leave? This was Southern Border's Super Gu formation, and all sorts of reinforcements from the super clans were rapidly getting closer. As for Heaven Overseeing Tower and Zhuo Yihui, they were still fighting, with both sides in a deadlock. Fong Yuan ordered, "Everyone, work hard to kill these soul beasts. Our reinforcements are coming closer." These soul beasts were sent by the enemy. Killing them is weakening the enemy. If we let these soul beasts leave, there would be a huge problem. This is the responsibility of the righteous path. These words made sense, but the Southern Border righteous path Gu immortals did not listen to him. Aren't the reinforcements arriving? Let them handle it. That's right. I am so tired. I need to rest. Even if we are not injured currently, our immortal essence expenditure was huge. We need to save up our battle strength and not waste it. Fong Yuan snorted. I'm telling you to go. Enough nonsense. Southern Border's righteous path Gu immortals scolded and cursed, but Fong Yuan ignored them. He was doing something very exciting. That was asking Wu Clan for help. Quick, it is very dangerous here. The situation is very complex. Quickly send the Gu worms I need over with treasure, Yellow Heaven. No worries. I will bear all the cost myself. Why do I want Bloodline Immortal Gu? I need to use it in the Super Gu formation and increase its power. It is difficult because I am borrowing so many Immortal Gu. Why are you troubled? This is not my first time borrowing Gu. What? Borrowing Immortal Gu in Wu Clan's internal treasury requires the First Supreme Elder's approval. Fong Yuan contacted Wu Yong. Elder brother, quickly lend me a hand. Wu Yong was controlling the Immortal Gu house and rapidly moving. Hearing his brother's words, he replied, What happened? What help do you need? I am sure you know about the situation. Brother, I am controlling the Super Gu formation now. This is a great opportunity. It can allow our Wu clan to control this resource point and suppress the other clans. We will be free from our difficult situation. Fong Yuan spoke sincerely. Wu Yong was silent for a moment. This battlefield was not sealed. Southern Border's Righteous Path Gu immortals could communicate with their clans using information path methods. Over at Wu clan, they only had Feng Yuan and Wu Liao, along with Qiao clan's Gu immortals. Thus, all of the reinforcements were familiar with the battlefield situation. Wu Yong was no exception at the crucial moment. Feng Yuan salvaged the situation and took over Qi Gui's spot in the Super Gu formation. Wu Yong naturally knew about this. When he first heard it, he was a little surprised. He did not expect his own brother to have such a strong formation path attainment. But Wu Yong quickly accepted it. Why? Because earlier, Feng Yuan had competed with Qi Shang in terms of formation path. Among them, Xiao Silu was involved. Rumors about them had caused a commotion in Southern Border for some time. Feng Yuan exposed his formation path attainment. Everyone was shocked about it. But because of that, everyone could accept this result easily. If Wu Yihai were a Gu immortal born and bred in Southern Border, he would face great suspicion. The great thing was, Wu Yihai came from Eastern Sea. The Southern Border Gu immortals did not know much about him. Therefore, Feng Yuan had ample room to act and performed. Wu Yong heard Feng Yuan's words. He could use reputation restriction Immortal Gu to reinforce the Super Gu formation and gain more benefits for Wu clan. He hesitated. But his hesitation had no suspicion in it. He believed Feng Yuan. He had not suspected that Wu Yihai was an imposter from the very start. His hesitation was about how reliable Feng Yuan's plan was, and how successful it could be. If the chances of success were low, and if they failed, what would Wu clan's political situation become? These were all things that Wu Yong had to consider. As a person in power, he needed to have foresight. He could not focus solely on immediate benefits. Chapter 1370, Shadow Sect's New Leader. Chapter 1370, Shadow Sect's New Leader. Wu Yong's hesitation did not last long. He quickly decided to act according to Feng Yuan's plan. This was a great opportunity. It was a good chance for Wu clan. Wu Yong had been defending Wu clan and resisting the challenges sent by all the other clans earlier. It was quite a tough time. He did not want to face it again. And he also understood, as long as he, as a rank 8 Gu immortal, did not die, Wu clan would have enough foundation in Southern Border's Gu immortal world. They would never truly fall. Lend him. Feng Yuan wants reputation restriction Immortal Gu. He will get to borrow it. Bloodline Immortal Gu. Lent. But his action was not blindly decided. Wu Yong and Wu clan's Gu immortals listened to the reasons for Feng Yuan's borrowing. If there was any inconsistencies or illogical points, they would retort and reject him. Such vigilance was the tradition of all the super forces. Immortal Gu were unique. Any Immortal Gu, even rank 6, counted as the foundation of a super force. Immortal Gu could not be lent out easily. Feng Yuan had to make up logical reasons in this short time period. It was not easy, but eventually, he still borrowed 6 Immortal Gu. 6 Immortal Gu is about enough. If we lend more, do you have enough Immortal Essence to use them? Wu Yong rejected Feng Yuan's request in a nice manner. 6 Immortal Gu lent to one person. It was a huge risk. Not that Wu clan suspected Wu Yihai's identity, but if anything happened to him, these Immortal Gu would be lost. It would be a huge loss to Wu clan's foundation. Never put all your eggs into one basket. Everyone understood this logic. Feng Yuan sighed deeply. Oh, brother, your reminder is true. I do not have much red date Immortal Essence left. Brother, lend me some Immortal Essence stones. I need to replenish my Immortal Essence. He decided to get some more benefits. Wu Yong did not hesitate. He approved of it. An emperor has no use for hungry soldiers. Without Immortal Essence, all those Immortal Gu were useless. After lending out so many Immortal Gu, they had to make sure they were used properly, right? Feng Yuan obtained 100,000 Immortal Essence stones. Wu clan was a super force indeed. This showed their tremendous foundation. Use it sparingly. The Immortal Essence stones and Immortal Gu are all lent to you. Remember to be vigilant and careful. Wu Yong told Feng Yuan concernedly. Feng Yuan quickly acknowledged it. Immortal Gu and Immortal Essence stones were transmitted over through Treasure Yellow Heaven rapidly into Feng Yuan's hands. Treasure Yellow Heaven went into a commotion. Once Feng Yuan obtained them, he quickly turned the Immortal Essence stones into his Immortal Essence, while tossing those 6 Immortal Gu into Reverse Flow River, suppressed entirely. After this battle, Wu Yihai's identity would definitely be exposed. Just a few words from Heavenly Court would attract sufficient suspicion. Fang Yuan could not pass intense investigations. Just soul-searching or checking his immortal aperture would expose him. Thus, before running, he had to dig out the last bit of benefits possible. It is a huge pity I could not borrow any immortal goo house. Fang Yuan pursed his lips. Even though he scammed Wu Clan to this extent, he was not fully satisfied. For any super force, immortal goo houses had much greater significance than immortal goo. They could not be lent out to Fang Yuan no matter what. Similar to nuclear weapons on Earth, they were the last resorts of certain countries. They could not be lent out. Unless Fang Yuan became someone like Wu Yong who had the greatest authority in Wu Clan, then nobody would say anything about him having an immortal goo house. Like how He Chung borrowed Dark Prison due to the 4 He Tribe Supreme Elders being forced to stay together as a result of cultivating Green City Rampage and being unable to go out alone. He Chung only managed to gain his authority as a result of this. If Fang Yuan asked to borrow Immortal Goo House, Wu Yong's first thought would be, "My brother wants to borrow an Immortal Goo House. After this battle, if he does not return it, and uses this Immortal Goo House together with Xiao Clan's help to resist me, what would I do?" Also, immortal goo houses could not be completely sent over using Treasure Yellow Heaven. Immortal goo houses were goo formations. Nobody could use goo formations or killer moves in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Thus, to send an immortal goo house over, it had to be split apart, but reconstructing an immortal goo house was very difficult. Immortal goo houses were the apex of formation path to create an immortal goo house. Even if one knew about the steps involved, a formation path goo immortal still needed to focus entirely and put in hard work. Any carelessness and the creation would fail. This was similar to setting up a formation. The goo immortal would face a backlash, and the goo formation and immortal goo house would also end in the same result. The risks were too great. Lending Fang Yuan so many immortal goo and immortal essence stones was Wu Clan's limit. This was also due to Fang Yuan being Wu Yong's brother, and the fact that he had contributed a lot to Wu Clan recently. If not for Frosty Peak, Moon Bowl, and Mount Snail, Fang Yuan would not be able to borrow it. Fang Yuan was profiting on the side, watching Shadow Sect and Heavenly Court go against each other while he reaped benefits. Even though he tried very hard, the situation did not go according to his wishes. Heavenly Court's Duke Long was too powerful, beyond his imagination. Shadow Sect lost, and Heavenly Court won. This was basically assured. Even Spectral Soul's main body had been captured. If Shadow Sect had any other methods, they already would have been used up. Speaking of which, Shadow Sect's foundation was truly deep. It was a pity that their losses were too severe on Etion Mountain when they tried to refine Sovereign Immortal Fetus Goo. The loss was too great. They were unable to recover on their last breaths. They were still faced with Fang Yuan's pursuit. They could not develop properly. But I have captured pure dream reality seeker physique bodies and gained a lot of heavenly crystals. The upper extreme heavenly eagle is currently being nurtured. And now, I scammed 6 immortal goo and 100,000 immortal essence stones from Wu Clan. My gains are actually huge. Fang Yuan was good at reaping benefits. Until this point, he did not fight to the death. He did not put in much effort, but his gains were still stunning. Unfortunately, Dark Limit Immortal Goo cannot be retrieved. I cannot take it out recklessly now. If the goo formation breaks apart, I will need to face Fairy Z Wei. There is also another problem. That is Wu Clan's alliance agreement. I joined Wu Clan and underwent an agreement. There is also the Life Tablet Goo and Soul Lantern Goo. They are still inside Wu Clan's ancestral hall. This final problem gave Fang Yuan a headache. The reason why he scammed 6 immortal goo was for this problem as well. If Wu Clan used this relationship to try and harm Fang Yuan, he could use the 6 Wu Clan immortal goo that he possessed to negotiate with them on that basis. That a great chess player would need to plan multiple steps ahead when making a move. Even though Fang Yuan was still stuck in the battlefield now, he was planning for the future. Demonic Path members are truly insidious and greedy beyond hope. Even before death, you are still scamming others. Oh Fang Yuan, your crimes are too severe. You will die today without doubt. Forget about running away, because with me around, you have no hope of escaping. At this time, Fairy Z Wei's voice resounded from the Super Goo formation. Fairy Ziwei must have known about the matter of Feng Yuan borrowing immortal goo and immortal essence stones from Wu clan. There was no helping it. Treasure Yellow Heaven was like this. It was an open market. Any transaction could be exposed easily. How could Heavenly Court not have methods to observe Treasure Yellow Heaven and keep it under surveillance? Feng Yuan sneered. This is the result of Heavenly Court not exposing me earlier. It seems that you have no conclusive proof. Actually, even if you do, so what? Will Wu clan believe you? Will Southern Borders Gu Immortal World believe you abruptly? They will only believe in what they have verified themselves. These righteous path forces are like this. Any sort of matter would be a political scheme in their eyes. Fairy Ziwei was silent. She did not speak. She understood thoroughly that Feng Yuan was completely immersed into the demonic path. His mind was firm and determined. Words could not sway him. Fairy Ziwei chose not to waste her effort on pointless attempts. Her speed in invading the Super Gu formation became quicker now. Feng Yuan's expression changed, realizing that this was at this rate. Even if the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle matured, it would be too late. The Super Gu formation would break apart in advanced. He had the information path reputation restriction Immortal Gu now. His plan was to use this Immortal Gu to control the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle. But Feng Yuan did not have much confidence in this, because the upper extreme Heavenly Eagle was an immemorial desolate beast. It had rank 8 battle strength, while reputation restriction Immortal Gu was just rank 7. The only thing that gave Feng Yuan hope was that he indeed had strong reputation. He could hopefully use it to allow reputation restriction Immortal Gu to display incredible power. If it did not work, he would need to release the rampaging upper extreme Heavenly Eagle and create chaos to find a chance to escape. The battlefield was divided into 4 parts now. The first and most crucial area was the battle between Purple Mountain True Monarch and Duke Long. They were fighting inside Shadow Sect's blessed land. The situation was unknown, but Duke Long had the advantage. It was highly likely that he would emerge victorious. The second area was Heaven Overseeing Tower and Zhuyi Hui. They were unable to defeat each other. Both sides were injured now. Even with Zhuyi Hui's incredible recovery speed, it was still covered in wounds. Heaven Overseeing Tower's edges were also breaking apart. It was no longer as grand as before. The third area was the fight between the Southern Border Gu Immortals and Soul Beasts. Nothing much was happening. The fourth area was Fairy Ziwei's and Feng Yuan's fight over the Super Gu Formation's control. This battlefield was the most secretive. Even the Southern Border Righteous Path Gu Immortals were kept in the dark. In Feng Yuan's opinion, it was a foregone conclusion. Heavenly Court was sure to win. In this situation, he could only escape and his plan of fishing for benefits was over. But Feng Yuan was an old demon. Even if he was about to be defeated, his gains were tremendous. Now, it is time to see if I can escape. Right when Feng Yuan was working hard on this goal, he received Purple Mountain True Monarch's words. Feng Yuan, can we continue to cooperate? Feng Yuan's interest was roused. Of course. Very good. I was not wrong about you. I will entrust everything to you. My immortal Gu, my killer moves, my experiences, and you will not need to bear any responsibility or task. Ing Wu Xia, He Lu Lan, White Rabbit, Miao Yin and Sixth Hair, they will all be your subordinates. From now onwards, you will be the leader of Shadow Sect.